Hi guys, welcome to another week on TheRealvolution. This week we are going to be making tutorials for you, and I have decided to make a tutorial on how to create a stencil image and print it onto a t-shirt. So the things that you're going to need are obviously a t-shirt. I bought this from Kmart. It's just a simple tank top. The other thing you're going to need is obviously an image to stencil. Now I've decided to do the R logo, the logo for TheRealvolution. So I'll be using that. The other thing, you need some card to actually create the stencil. Ooh, look at that. It's me. The reason why I suggest using card as opposed to just normal paper is that it's thicker, which means that when you're putting paint on it, it won't start to buckle. Plus, if you want to make more than one t-shirt, you can always use the same piece of card. You won't have to keep making new stencils every time. We'll need paint, and I have bought some 3D fabric paint. So I've got this stuff, 3D fabric paint. In Australia, it's called puff paint. And I've got this really pretty kind of glittery blue. I don't know if you can really see all the glitter. And then a glittery pinky magenta color. You'll need some artist sponges because we're not going to be screen printing. We're actually just going to be dabbing the paint onto the t-shirt, like over the stencil. You'll need scissors. You'll need a scalpel or Stanley knife. You will need a backing board of some sort to put inside the t-shirt so that when you are stenciling, the paint isn't going to seep through onto the back of the t-shirt. That's really, really important. Also, you can use the backing before you start stenciling. You can use the backing to protect your table when you're cutting the stencil. Last thing, you will need some sort of double-sided tape. The thinner the tape is, the better. I like using really, really thin stuff. If you use really, really thick ones, it just won't work because sometimes when you stick the piece of stencil, to the t-shirt, it'll leave quite a bit of a gap, so paint might actually run through and ruin your image. So, those are all the things, I think, pretty sure. Let's get started. So as you can see, this is the image that I'm going to be using, and the first thing I'm going to do is cut the image, being very, very careful not to cut myself or to tear the card. And as you can see, I'm using the backing paper, the backing card, so that I don't ruin my desk, because I do love my desk a lot. Take your time with this. Don't try to rush it. I tried to rush it the first time and completely screwed up. So yeah. And this is the final product. Look how cool it looks. And look, you can see me. Way. Okay, so the next part is to get the backing board. And as you can see, I've put it in between the front and the back of the t-shirt. And I'm just going to fold this up nicely, basically so that it creates a really nice flat smooth surface that has no creases on the front, because creases are bad, my friends. Look at me go. I'm such a pro. Et voila. Next part, I am using the double-sided tape. Obviously, I've turned the piece of the stencil upside down so that I can actually stick it to the back of the stencil. This, of course, means that I can stick the stencil down flat onto the t-shirt. This means when I do flip it over, I can press it down really, really firmly, and that will help to prevent the paint from basically getting underneath the stencil and ruining your image. If that happens, you'll end up getting really kind of blurry lines as opposed to a nice crisp line. So this is a really, really important step. If you find that some pieces are still sticking up a little bit, just stick more double-sided tape underneath, and that will help to keep it all down. Now get your sponge and cut it in half. There's no point using an entire sponge just for one color. It's a waste of a sponge. And load it with paint and very carefully start dabbing. Dab, 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 a dab, dab, dab. And as you can see with my left hand, I am actually putting it flat on the stencil, and that will also help keep those lines really, really nice and crisp so that paint won't go under the stencil. Now when you get halfway up the R, make sure you start to really thin it out so it's not quite so thick and blue, because you are going to be making a gradient, which means that you're going to be going over the top with some magenta. So as you can see, to try to speed up the process, I do try to give it a bit of a blitz with my hairdryer, which actually helps a little bit, but keep your fingers on the stencil so it doesn't fly up. And here I go with the magenta. So basically doing the same thing with a brand new sponge. You're going to start at the top and work your way to the middle. So I finally reached the middle, and I very slowly dab some of the pink over the blue so that it creates a gradient between the pink and the blue, or purple and blue, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Then after you've let it dry for a little bit, slowly, very, very slowly, peel off the stencil. Now make sure you don't rip the stencil if you are planning on using it again. So just really, really take it slow, take your time, be very gentle with it. And because the other thing is, if you pull it off, you can also ruin the fabric. So just take your time, bitches. Don't be impatient cunts, okay? Yeah, bitches! Look how awesome that looks. And there you go. Glittery Real-Volution logo. As you can see, my big ass tits did stretch the logo out a little bit. I should have probably tried on the t-shirt before I, printed the stencil on it, but it still looks freaking awesome, and I'm so happy with how it looks. So yeah, there you go. There's my my tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'd love to see some of your creations if you do try this tutorial. So send us a video or a photo or something. See you next week, bitches!